What's going on, guys? I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you being here. So today's episode, we're talking about a little bit different stuff. I want to talk to you about how to actually pick the best diet for you. We're going to talk about, before I show you how to pick the best diet, I want to show you about the stuff that doesn't matter. Okay, because when picking a diet, a lot of people think about the things that don't matter as much, that aren't that important. So we're gonna go over the stuff that doesn't matter. The two major questions you have to ask yourself before you embark on any of this, before you decide any diet, and before you decide to pick any specific way of doing things. Then we're gonna talk about what you shouldn't do, like what you are really going to want to avoid, and some of the pitfalls and the potholes and things like that you're gonna want to avoid when choosing the diet to go with to lose the weight and get the muscle and do what it is you're wanting to do. And then after all of this, then I'm gonna show you actually what you should be doing in terms of how to pick the best diet for you and your goals that sets you up long-term for success. So that's what we're gonna get into. Okay, let's first talk about what doesn't matter, okay? Because when getting into this, like, it's a pretty big deal figuring out what diet and system and things you're gonna do in order to move forward. Because that's the thing, is you're wanting to start a diet and pick the right things to do because you don't like where you're at right now. I'm guessing that's more than likely. I'm assuming why. So the thing is, though, we got to figure out the best route to do that. So the first thing I want to tell you before we get into like what you should be doing and how to pick it is the stuff that does not matter. Okay, the first thing that does not matter is the diet your friends are doing. Whatever your friends are doing is about as much relevance as the kind of drywall they use in their house. Like, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I don't care what your friends are doing. It has zero merit to what you should be doing. It's just a preference thing. Like, one of the best examples I've ever heard of is, like, imagine if you go into a hospital, but instead of like figuring out what's wrong with you in the hospital and what treatment you need to get to fix the problem, imagine if you or the doctor based your treatment on what everybody else is getting. You know, you go room to room and you're like, hey Bob, what are you getting? Oh, you got a cast on your arm. Well, maybe I should get a cast. Then you're like, okay, let's go to the next room. And you're like, oh, Sarah's getting blood pressure pills. Maybe I should get blood pressure pills. Let's go to the next one. Ooh, Jeff is getting chemo. Maybe I should get chemo. And like, do you see the issue? Because if you were to do that, that doesn't matter, right? Like, why would you take blood pressure pills if you don't have blood pressure issues? Why would you get chemo if you don't have cancer? Why would you have a cast on your arm if you don't have a broken arm? Like, what's going on with them doesn't matter to you, right? It has zero relevance to your life. It's the same thing with the diet that all your friends are doing. It doesn't matter. The other thing that doesn't matter at all is whatever's popular on Facebook and Instagram. Because I know how this game goes. Like, I do a lot on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. And I know everybody's pushing whatever, like, here's the keto guy, and here's the paleo girl, and here's the fasting clan, and like all this stuff. Like, I don't care. Whatever's going, it's just like the stuff that your friends and family are doing. It has zero relevance to your life and what you should be doing. So don't even worry about that, even though it's tempting. I know it's easy to be like, oh, grass seems greener. Stop. Don't do that at all. It has zero relevance to you. The other thing that doesn't matter is basically what every celebrity, Dr. Oz, and all like athletes and all those, that whole side of people are doing. Because I know celebrities get on TV or on their social media or whatever and be like, oh no, fasting changed my life, or this system changed my life, or this pill, powder, potion I'm selling changed my life. Like, whatever celebrities Dr. Oz is saying, I'm telling you, again, it has zero relevance to your life, okay? This is about you. This is about only you. No one else matters in this. We're figuring out what's gonna be best for you to be successful for the rest of your life. So everyone else's stuff doesn't matter at all, like whatsoever. So I want you to take that out of your head. So if you feel like pressured to do a specific diet like keto or paleo or eat every 2 hours or eat once a day or whatever, I don't want you to feel pressure at all, okay? Because even one of the first things I'll tell you is, I'm not gonna say, do this diet. What I'm gonna show you today is how to go about deciding for yourself what the best diet is and what the best way to go about losing weight is for you. But I want you to take everyone else's stuff and influences, like what diet they're doing or what system they're following. I want you to put that out of your head for the next whatever, for as long as this video is. Because here's the thing, there are two questions you have to ask yourself before you start this whole thing. There are two specific questions you have to actually sit back and reflect and actually think about for a second, okay? The first question is, what makes you happy with this? As in, like right now, keto is super hot and trendy. So like for me, for example, if I had to give up my carbs and my favorite foods and not eating out and not doing stuff with friends and family because of the keto diet, I would not be happy. I couldn't do it. I would not want to do it. There's no reason to do that. So you have to understand that whatever diet you're even considering following or the system you're going to do, you have to ask yourself, number one, does it make you happy? Could you be happy doing that for the long run? Okay, could you be happy and live a very happy life following that for the long haul? The second question, you have to ask yourself, could you follow this for the next 10 to 20 years? And those two, the answer to those two questions really depend on what way we go with this. Because think about it, if you can't be happy while following it, that's a red flag. And if you couldn't sustain it, forget the next 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, like the next 10 years, could you sustain it? Like a lot of people are wanting to do keto right now, but a lot of people tell me, I know I can't keep this up forever. That's a concern because one day, whatever you're doing, keto, or I don't know, I'm picking on keto, but it's one of those things where eventually if you know you're gonna have to stop and go back to like being a normal person, then the weight's gonna come back too. Versus if you learn to have all your favorite foods and have a much more balanced and flexible approach with this, like I'm gonna show you, that's not as much of a big deal. You see what I mean? So understand that if you have an end date in your head, it's like, imagine this. Imagine like you go to work and get paid, right? But then the day comes, you're like, you know what? I don't want to really go into work anymore. And then getting pissed that your boss quits paying you. See what I mean? It's the same thing as if you like follow like a super rigid keto diet or a really rigid system, and then the one day you're like, I can't keep this up. It's just like quitting, not working at your job. The pay's gonna stop, you're gonna gain all your weight back, all that stuff. So you have to ask yourself those two questions. What can you be happy while doing consistently? And can you sustain this for the next 10 to 20 years? Because the one thing I'll warn you about is this is where a lot of people go wrong. A lot of people are super short-sighted with this, and they just do what they did before that worked, that they eventually fell off. You know, I know a lot of people that believe 1,200 calories is their number, and if they eat 1,201 calories, they gain weight, which isn't a thing. Or a lot of people say, oh no, the only way I can lose weight is I drop my carbs. So then they like deprive themselves for 3 months, and then they quit, and then they're like, oh, okay, I gotta get back on track. And the only way I can do it is if I eliminate carbs, even though I know it's not sustainable, and they do it anyway. Don't be so short-sighted that all you do is what you did before that you fell off. Because your past history with this is a good representation of what's probably a good or bad idea. If you've tried trendy diets, if you've tried extremism, if you've tried eliminating like entire categories of food and it never works out, you know, we don't want to keep doing what's not been conducive in the past. You see what I mean? Now I want to talk to you about what you should not do. So like, because I know a lot of this stuff is kind of controversial, and that's okay, because my goal is to help you. My goal is not to get on here and rah-rah you and tell you you need to eat a 1,200 calorie, low carb, low sugar diet and deprive yourself for the next 3 months. My goal is to get on here and give you the tools, tactics, and strategies you need that you can implement right now to make your life better and to run with this and be super successful, okay? So here's what you don't want to do. Here's what you probably should not be doing. Number one, getting rid of all your favorite foods. I'll let you know a little secret. If all you eat are your favorite foods, this whole game is a lot easier. Imagine this, a lot of people will start their diet and they take all their favorite foods and throw them out the window, and all they eat is boiled chicken and celery. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not fun at all. Or a lot of people try to will buy these meal plans and it's the same 3 foods, like chicken, rice, and broccoli, chicken, rice, and broccoli, chicken, rice, and broccoli. And they have all their favorite foods and they're not allowed to have them. So don't eliminate your favorite foods. That's what a lot of people do. They get rid of their everything from their cookies, their cakes, their ice creams, their pizza, their alcohol, their steak, their whatever. You should not be eliminating and just totally getting rid of your favorite foods. The next thing, this is a huge one. You should not be changing your entire life at once to where you cannot go out and enjoy time with your friends and family. Like, I hate the fact that so many people will start a diet and then let's say their friends want to go get dinner or they want to have a date night out with their partner or whatever, and there's now all this copious amount of crazy anxiety and stress. Like, I'm afraid I can't, enjoy my time with my family. I'll just rather stay home. And now your life sucks. Because that's the thing is, again, is this affecting your happiness? Because it's cool. Let's say you're shredded to the gills. Awesome. But let's say you have no friends, your family doesn't want to see you, you're constantly anxious, you're constantly depressed because you're constantly thinking about food and calories. Like, that is a problem. Don't change your everything so much to the capacity that you can't be a normal human and you can't go and do the things you love. That's a big deal breaker. Next one, you don't want to demonize and eliminate an entire category of food. Like, it boggles my mind, like, you got your 3 big macros, protein, fats, and carbs, right? Your big macronutrients. But a lot of people will demonize all of carbs and they'll get rid of carbs. So all they have is protein and fat. But then you'll have the other side of the fence that they think fat's the problem. And so they have all protein, all carb diet with no fat. I don't know too many people who like say protein's a problem, throw that out the window, but do not eliminate any one thing, like an entire category of food. I know people who eliminate, they're so scared of carbs, they won't eat fruit because they're so convinced that apples are the reason for the obesity epidemic. Like, come on now. Or they think things like avocado is the cause of the obesity epidemic on the other side of the fence. Like, no. Understand that, like, our body needs and utilizes protein, fats, and carbs. I can get into all the details of that on another video, but understand right now that your body needs protein, fats, and carbs. A lot of people will say, oh, well, carbs aren't necessary or they're not essential, but there's a lot of stuff in life that isn't essential, but we use it anyway. Fuck, makeup's not essential, but it's a $1 billion industry. My couch I'm sitting on isn't essential, but guess what? It makes my living room awfully comfy. Because here's the thing, eliminating all your carbs or all your fats or all of whatever isn't the problem. And the last thing you don't want to do, that's super common, is eat as little as possible. Okay, that's a huge problem. A lot of people will basically starve themselves or see how little they can eat. Like, a super common question I get rolling through Instagram and email is some people being like, oh, Jared, what's the least amount of calories I should be eating? I'm like, whoa, that's the whole wrong thought process. That's like, no, how much can you get away with eating while still losing weight? Because you and I both know you've got to eat less food, like the whole calorie deficit thing, in order to lose weight and burn body fat and things like that. But a lot of people think they have to starve themselves, or they go from eating 4,000 calories a day to 1,200. Like, that's not how this game works. The goal is to eat as much as possible while losing. So this is more enjoyable. You can physically eat more food because that's a lot of fun, and it keeps your metabolism elevated a little bit more and keeps this whole experience better. Okay, so don't try to starve yourself or eat as little as possible. So the big question, what should you be doing? Okay, so think about everything we've talked about, all the stuff that doesn't matter, all the stuff that you probably should avoid, and then the 2 questions you should ask yourself, okay? Because again, this is all about you. Only you, nothing but you, right? So understand this. A diet that you're gonna choose to follow should be based on sound principles, not one specific way, principles that get you from A to Z, that causes your goals to happen, that makes you happy, that you can be happy while doing, that is sustainable, that you can do for the long haul, for years to come. That's what you should be basing this off of. So what my recommendation is, without telling you just do this, is understand that every diet, the 3 things every diet has in common is a calorie deficit. You physically have to take in less calories than what your body burns in order to lose weight. Any diet that doesn't have the principle, not a system, a principle of calorie deficit, doesn't work. If you eat 10,000 calories a day in keto food, you'll store fat. If you eat 10,000 calories a day of organic grass-fed avocados, you'll store fat. You have to physically be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. Then the second thing, a consistent period of time. Nothing works unless you give it some time. You know, you're not gonna be shredded in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months. This is a long haul game. So and then the last thing, a shredded person telling you to do it. Every diet has those 3 things in common. A calorie deficit, a consistent period of time, and a shredded person associated with it. Because we all have, you ever noticed, I bet you could count on one hand, like, that you know somebody that's been successful with keto, with paleo, with fasting, with eating frequently, with eating little, with eating like every single system. You probably know someone, like a spokesperson for that's done well. Because that's the thing, is every diet works as long as it has a calorie deficit in a consistent period of time. So, which means what does this mean for you? This means ideally you should be eating your favorite foods. Now, if you have foods that are not so nutritious, like pizza and ice cream and beer, like, obviously you can't just eat all that. You should not be eating all that every day in just a calorie deficit, but everything is okay in moderation, right? That's why, like, 80-20, in my opinion, is a really good ratio to go by in terms of better eating 80% of your food, the majority is from better quality, more nutritious, whole, real foods, but then the other 20% is legitimately anything you want in moderation. This is where you would go out to eat with your family, and if you guys want pizza and the kids are home and you just like, I just think I'll order pizza and have a good time, or whatever the case is. We do this with money all the time. You ever notice that? Like when it comes to money, we do this. Think about it this way. Think about the amount of money you make. I would bet that you spend the majority of your money on adult purchases. You're an adult about it. You probably pay for your house, you probably pay for your lighting, you probably pay for your water, you probably put gas in your car, you buy food, you may save some, you may pay off some debt. The majority of your income goes to adult purchases. But I bet you have, because of all this is taken care of, you have a smaller portion of your money that you just have fun with, you're stupid with. You're not stupid, but that you just do frivolous stuff with. You might go buy a t-shirt you didn't need. You might go out to the movies, that's not essential. You might repaint a room. You might, I don't know, buy a puppy. You might do all this other stuff over here because you have all the big adult stuff taken care of, right? Think of the same thing with your nutrition. Should you just be frivolous and spend all your money on video games and stupid stuff and not pay your bills? No, that's dumb. Should you adopt that with nutrition? Should you be spending all your calories on, pizza, donuts, and ice cream? Well, no. But eat like an adult. Have the vast majority of your calories come from better quality, whole, nutritious, real food. But because that's in check and taken care of, if you want to go have a donut, go get a donut. If you want ice cream, go get ice cream. If you want pizza, go get pizza. It's not about what you do some of the time that matters, it's what you do the majority of the time that matters. You see what I mean? So that's why, in terms of this, calories are always king. So you've got to make sure you're in a calorie deficit. Whether you count and track calories, I'm all about it. But some people that's not a good fit for right up front. So when it comes to that, you've got to get yourself in a calorie deficit, eat less calories as a whole, just a little bit less. Eat the majority of your food that you love. Don't force feed yourself foods you hate. Eat only foods that you love eating. Now, and I would bet there's a lot of whole, nutritious, real foods that you love. You could probably bake your chicken if you like it baked versus grilled, or if you would, instead of eating raw broccoli, you could bake broccoli with garlic powder on it, and actually make it taste good. But eat foods you love. Because again, if all you eat is foods you really enjoy, it's way easier to keep this game going and not quit, versus if you just deprive yourself and hate everything that goes in your mouth. Do you see what I mean? So in terms of all this, always keep your calories and portions in check. You want to be in a calorie deficit. Eat the majority of your food from better quality, more nutritious whole foods. Don't be afraid to have a little bit of any other food like beer, pizza, ice cream, donuts in moderation. That's why you're prioritizing whole foods, have a higher protein intake, and don't go to any extreme. It's the poison, or it's the dose that makes poison lethal. If I get stung by one bee, it's not a big deal. If I get stung by a colony of bees, I'll probably go to the hospital. The only difference is the dosage, right? So when it comes to this, don't go to extremes. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Keep the main focus, you, and what's gonna make you successful long-term, and have all your favorite foods, just dial your portions down. And it's really not that complicated, okay? If you need a little bit more help with this, or you're still struggling, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. I'll leave my contact info below. And otherwise, I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be this crazy thing everyone makes it out to be. So I hope this helps. Thank you so much for being here. Be sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out any other videos. Yeah, otherwise, I'll talk to you soon.